Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third session in the Working with Data series. In this particular episode, we are going to be looking at something called VLOOKUPs, and they are really, really key when it comes to navigating across multiple data sets and being really efficient and accurate when you're pulling data from multiple places into a single table or a single spreadsheet. They can be used from like across workbooks or within a particular worksheet, however you want to use them. We're going to go through an example today. I would recommend, as always, that you have your data set open with you so that you're able to work alongside it. I'm going to go through this one a little bit slower so that you can do it as I'm speaking, because there are a number of different elements to this formula, though it is pretty self-explanatory once we kind of get going. But as I said, really recommend that you do it step by step so that you can practice and really understand all of the elements that make up this particular formula. So, if we start by getting our staff info tab on our practice sheet open. This is the one that we will be using for this session. I will just zoom in so that we can have a little look. So what we can see here is that we've got two tables that have similar but not the same data in them. So we've got employee or staff names, but we can see that they're not in the same order. We've got employee numbers in both tables, but we can see that one is missing in the same table. We can also see that the tables don't start in the same places. So the second table starts in column A, whereas the top table starts in column B. And we can also see that that the bottom table has a few more rows of data, different types of data than the first. Now, all of this makes it a little bit trickier to just simply pull data from one place to another. And when we're working with really big data sets and across multiple workbooks, the best and easiest way to do this is through something called a VLOOKUP. I'm going to take you through step by step what that is. We're going to start in the cell here, so B16. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the employee number for Mike. Now, what a VLOOKUP does, it's a vertical lookup, is it starts in the first column of whatever your data set is. It searches down the first column until it hits the thing that you've told it to look for. And don't worry if this is uncomplicated, we'll go through it step by step. But it searches down that first column until it hits the data that you've told it to look for. And then it searches to the right across your data sets by the number of columns that you've asked it to look, and it returns that value. So I know that sounds a bit complicated, but I promise it'll all become clear very soon. So as always, we start with our equal sign. We type in VLOOKUP. And now it's asking, so I don't think you'll be able to see it on my screen, but when you do it on your own, a kind of little formula cheat sheet should pop up at the bottom that tells you all of the different elements that you need to put in for that particular formula. So apologies if you can't see it, but it should pop up on yours, as I said, when you're doing it yourself. So the first thing we need to look up is the lookup value. And in this instance, it's Mike, because it's Mike's employee number that we're after. So we click on this. We add in a comma, and then the next thing that it's looking for is the table array, which is another way of saying your data range. And we know that we want to search this this table for the data, because we know that all the employee numbers are filled in that data, and that's what we're after. We add another comma, and then what's looking for next is the column index number. So remember when I said it searches down the first column until it hits the data you've told it to look for, which we've selected as Mike. It then looks across the data set that you've selected until it hits the column number that you've told it to. So when we're mostly thinking about columns, we think A, B, C, D, for example, but we can see here that the columns are not aligned. Our tables are starting in different places. And so what we really need to do is we need to be specific in terms of the data set that we've selected about what column number we wanted to stop. So we've selected this data set because you can see it's highlighted. And so how it works is that this is not column B, but column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way across. So what we want is it to return the data that is in column 2, because that's your employee number. So it'll go 1, 2. As we said, it'll go search down till you hit Mike. It'll search across the data set until you hit the column we've told it to, which in this instance is 2. So I'm going to type in 2, and it'll return that value. Now, the final thing that we need to do is we need to add in whether it's an approximate match or an exact match. Now, this kind of matters a lot more when we're working with text rather than numbers, because, for example, if you have a capitalized or a non-capitalized letter, that would make a difference on whether or not it's considered an approximate match or an exact match. In this instance, we want an exact match, so I'm going to type in false, because false is an exact match and true is an approximate match. Don't worry about writing that down. The little cheat formula that'll pop up on your own will show you that. I'm going to close my bracket and then I'm going to hit OK. And we can see that's worked. It has gone down the column till it's hit Mike. It's searched in the second column and it's returned the exact number. So that's really exciting. We're going to try that again, just so that everybody's comfortable with it. I'm going to do it a bit more quickly. Actually, I'm going to give you a second to type it in yourself and see if you feel comfortable with it, thinking about what it is we wanted to return, the data range that we're looking at, the column value, and if we want a true or approximate match. So what we do, V, lookup, open, select the table, comma, we've done our table array. Oh, no, we're going to go David, comma, select our table array. My mouse wants to play ball. There we are. Then we go column index number, and sec is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we hit 5. Then we're going to go, again, it asks the question are approximate or true. So I think we will go false so that we get an exact match. And then it's worth sometimes just checking, because you can see I jumped straight to the table in this instance. So have we got our first bit of data? You can see it's highlighted it there. So they really want to help you figure it out, which is the really handy thing. We hit OK, and we can say that for David, which is here, it has given us 90 days of sick leave and pulled it down correctly. So that's all really, really helpful. But the other thing I want to show you is that this column has automatically filled in. So if we go to the shortcut that I showed you last time, where you hit Control and then your kind of sideways walking stick button, we can see what is happening here. So why did it automatically add in a value? We can see that because there's a formula here that tells it to pull data from here. So if H, then you have to minus that from that. So that's really helpful to understand what it is we're looking at. And you can see by that formula that it's taken 90 minus 8, and that really explains why that data has automatically pulled in. So as I said, that's a real favorite of mine, just to double check what you're doing and check that the formulas are in there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea around how VLOOKUPs work. I think that this is a really, really helpful tool when you're working with these really big data sets, as I said, but this would work from across tabs as well. So say you had a table on one page and you wanted to pull that data into another. Say, for example, that actually our employee numbers were stored in this spreadsheet instead, you would still be able to kind of pull it across and input it in here, which is really, really helpful. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an idea on how to work with VLOOKUPs.